Welcome to Garage Gym Athlete Ask Me Anything. It's pretty simple. I'll be answering questions from the thousands of athletes that follow our daily programming. If you have a question or topic you want submitted, go to garagegymathlete.com/AMA. Let's get started. All right, guys. Jared Moon here from the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast doing an Ask Me Anything. This one is from Josh, and Josh is going through our coaching program, but he had a question. This isn't Ask Me Anything, so you can really ask me anything you want, and this one is not as much about health, fitness in particular, but he said, I'd love to know what you've done with all the information you got from the Betterhumanology Podcast. Do you reference it still? Use notes from it? Any people you kept in contact with that made a huge difference in your path? So that's a great question. If you didn't know, so we have the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast now. That's what you're listening to. We have a lot of episodes. Before, they were kind of running at the same time, but before we really dove into and decided to put all of our effort and energy into the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast, we did have the Betterhumanology Podcast. So with over 200 different episode interviews, I did really, what does it take to build a better human being? That was the main question I would ask everybody. I'd ask about mental toughness. It was a very fun podcast. And the only reason we shut it down is because, to be honest, Garage Gym Athlete was gaining more traction, the podcast itself, not just the membership base. And so we kind of just wanted to put more effort and energy into what our audience wanted. So that's why we're focusing more on this podcast now. But I absolutely loved every single interview I did on the Betterhumanology Podcast. So to answer your question, what are we doing with all the old content? And that's pretty cool. I'm recording this now. I don't know when we're actually implementing because things are going to be a little bit spread out, but you're actually going to see a lot of the Betterhumanology Podcast snippets popping up here in the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. And one of our shorter snippets, we're going to start publishing them once a week, like little 5 to 7 minute, maybe longer, maybe shorter, little snippets from the Betterhumanology Podcast, because we had so many expert guests and great content that we are going to start filtering in little bits, not the whole interview, little bits of really, great information and takeaways. We're going to start putting that here in this podcast so you can hear some of those takeaways that we got. And so that's one thing that we're doing with the information. And I have notebooks and notebooks full of I think probably 10 of these. They're the moleskin notebooks, just full of notes from that podcast. I do keep in touch with a lot of the previous guests, and as much as I can, that's how one way we just kind of network in the podcasting world is getting as many people on as you can. There are a lot of people on that podcast who had a profound impact. So I'm writing a book right now. A lot of them are in the book. Dr. Ben Bickman, we had him on twice. He really changed the game for me, mentally, just wrapping my head around some concepts with ketosis, low carbohydrate diet stuff. I'd already been in that stuff for a long time, but he just solidified some facts for me that, from a metabolic standpoint, that I didn't fully understand until I had that conversation with him. And that's what's so great about a podcast in general when you're interviewing these experts is that you learn so much. You learn, you can just shortcut so much of someone else's success or path. No, you're not going to be an expert like some PhD who's at a university or whatever, but you get to learn as much as you can in an hour-long conversation. So it's really built up a lot of who I am today and a lot of what I know, how I approach things. And it also made me better at just speaking, talking to people, asking good questions, being curious. There's a lot of, aside from the information I got from the Betterhumanology Podcast, just how to talk, how to, like I said, ask good questions. And that goes a long way in a lot of different areas of your life. So that's kind of where we've gone with it, what we're doing in the future here with that podcast and this podcast. And I absolutely love that podcast and would love to, possibly do more with it in the future. But right now, Garage Gym Athlete is our focus, helping our athletes, growing this community, and it will be for the foreseeable future. But great podcast, and that's what's going on. So, Josh, hopefully that answers your question. Maybe even more information you wanted, but that's it for this week's Ask Me Anything. If you guys have anything else, go to garagegymathlete.com/AMA. I'll answer your question. Also, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, let me know what you got. And then also on iTunes, leave me a 5-star review, positive comment, and let us know what you like. We're doing giveaways and stuff with our reviewers all the time. Either way, thanks for being a part of the community. Till next time. I hope you enjoyed today's Ask Me Anything episode. So one more time, if you want to submit a question, topic, or idea, you can do so at garagegymathlete.com/AMA. And hey, while you're there, if you haven't already, sign up for Garage Gym Athlete membership. We are the best community and programming on the internet. I dare you to try and prove me wrong.